Anti-derivative Jill.
There she is. There she is.
We just put Sir Isaac Newton in the driver's seat.
You need a break, Ken?
If they don't get one, I don't get one.
But stay frosty and alert.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to Indefinite Lunch and Infinite Combinations number 121. Today we're going to be finishing off season 2 of For All Mankind. And these last two episodes are called, 9th and 10th episodes are called Triage and The Grey. And we're here to explore the storytelling in For All Mankind. We'll go into as much detail as we can about what interests us in these episodes. And so, of course, let's talk about them. I suppose the meaning of the episodes, I'm not sure. Triage is where you decide who to treat first in a medical situation. So I guess maybe they're thinking of that in a narrative sense, where everybody has to make priorities on what they're focusing on. And then maybe, but I'm still a little bit thinking about how both the U.S. Space Marine, they made the Space Marines and the Russians look kind of like idiots. And in the last shot of the last episode, where the first shots were fired and all that. But I talked about that last time. The U.S. were shooting where the Russians were unarmed, and the Russians didn't behave as you normally do when someone's holding a gun at you. And this this episode even makes it even worse, because we find out one of them can speak a bit of English. So that's going to be one of the things that comes up during our discussion of this episode. My slides for the episode are still processing. I forgot to throw them in the export them. So it'll be a few minutes before I bring up the slides. But I wanted to thank my co-host Philip for being here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Just started, I think, third week of school, so things are going pretty well, I think.
Great, school. That's wonderful. Well, you're also teaching at the same time, which is pretty smart.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different experience for me. This is the first time I've had to teach, and on Friday it'll be my third week teaching, and so far it's not what I expected, but actually I think I kind of enjoy it. So we'll see where I'm at the end of the semester.
All right. Yeah. Okay, very good. Also, I want to say hello to Kimberly Anhart, the Pink Ranger. Good morning, Anti-Derivative Jill. Good morning, Kimberly. And also, good morning to Snortapoopus Cuber, who says, hello, humans and other critters. And so, Greek letter says, the people demand a third option in the poll, one that states I don't know or care. Okay, next time I'll give you your apathy vote, I suppose. Ta-da! There she is. Yeah, here I am. So let's. Oh yeah, there's some wolves. All right. So I don't know what that is. So I guess I'll just skip it. If I don't know what it is, I should just. Okay, so the first episode today is Triage. It's the 9th episode in season 2. First aired on April 16th, 2021. And it was written by Bradley Thompson and David Weddle. Directed by Sergio Mimica Gezan. Sorry if I get that wrong. But, oh yeah, definitely. So the synopsis on the For All Mankind wiki states, the rivalry between American astronauts and Soviet cosmonauts intensifies as last-minute changes impact the Pathfinder plan. So they're So they're going, they're finally going to launch the Pathfinder, or fly the Pathfinder more accurately, because that's the thing that Ed's so excited about, is that you can finally not just be tied to the gravitational pull of where your spacecraft is going to be launched from Earth, and spinning around planets and deciding how to launch from there to another place. And he actually gets to fly the thing, and that's a new thing. So that's something fun.
Yeah, I think when we get to the slide in particular, I think it's an interesting way that it's a different method that they use to send it into space than we're normally accustomed to.
Yeah, and you know what? A couple of things remind me of just to tease that, it reminds me of, have you ever seen the Jerry Anderson show called UFO?
I have never seen it, but there's a lot of stuff that I've seen online, so I've seen clips.
Yeah, and so some things in this episode remind me of that, in a good way and in a bad way.
Hmm.
But
I
both
look forward to hearing what you say.
both are interesting. Well, there's just
Yeah.
a couple of parallels.
Hmm.
And it's also one of my favorite things. I'm always like, why don't we actually do this? And then For All Mankind does it. So I'm very
Yeah.
happy. And so we're ready to start the episode, but my slides are already 6 minutes. They're going to be ready in 6 minutes. So what do we do? I don't know. I guess we can talk about the episode anyway, and just pick up with the slides as soon as I get here. That way we're not just sitting around. JPRPH1 says, I really love this show. I wish I could stay. Leaving a like. Oh, I'm so glad you came by and said hello, even though you couldn't stay. Sometimes I'm a little hesitant to do that, because then they just say hi, and then I just have to leave, and then I feel bad about having to leave. So I'm glad that you said hello. Thank you for being here. And so this is after the aftermath of the ridiculous encounter where one cosmonaut gets shot and he's okay, and the other one, the bullet hits something to do with the oxygen, and the 100% pure oxygen, and something ignites, and this person is just burned to a crisp, burned alive. And we saw him catch on fire in the last episode. In this episode, there's a gruesome scene where his comrade unzips his body bag, and he's charred. It is
Yeah.
horror movie level.
He's well done, but it's it's an interesting thing that happens in that part of the episode, because I feel like I want to skip ahead, and I'm trying to like reel myself in, and that's always a challenge with this. But yeah, I mean, I think the way it goes about it, I mean, maybe it does portray them a little bit negatively, but I feel like that's something that I would expect from human beings, to have this kind of miscommunication problem. And so that I didn't have a problem with. There's something else in the last episode that I believe most of the fandom of For All Mankind definitely. It's not a split on what happened, but it's definitely something that I'll address in the episode The Grey, because I feel like that one is I feel like a make or break moment for some people. So which moment I'm speaking of, between Karen and Danny, but
Oh, oh no, yeah, no, that completely obliterates Karen's character for me. Every time I see her, she makes me sick now. I don't even
yeah,
want to have anything to do with her at this point.
I
You
mean, it's kind
have
of fascinating. Yeah,
just she's the one who encouraged Ed to go on the Pathfinder mission, and then now she's the one who's in, I don't know. It's just if she just had a normal affair, that would be one thing. But she had to do it with her dead son's best friend, who she used to raise and possibly changed his diaper. So what the fuck? Yeah, no, there's no. I don't know anybody who's actually for that. Like, come on, really? Like
I
a split?
mean,
No, I think it's just
no.
universally.
I mean, there has to be at least one or two fans that are okay with it,
That's
but I
true.
feel like
That's
it's
true.
like
I haven't
90% the fandom doesn't
haven't
like
seen
it,
it.
and yeah, I think most of us are like that. I'll take a second to say hello, chat. Sorry if I haven't said it.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
Penny's
me,
here.
it's
Penny arrived. She says, what does she say? What's she doing? Oh, she's just saying hi. Hey, Penny.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hey, chat. I hope you guys are having fun and looking forward to us diving into the end of the second season, which means you are now halfway through the series.
Yeah, but I don't honestly think it's excusable that she fired at the Russians because they weren't. It was just ridiculous because I said it better last week. I'm sure it's just they made him moronic.
Well, I mean, the implication has been pretty much the entire season since I think a lot of us too, these days kind of equate the era of the Reagan years to sort of this time where what it was to be American was sort of a little like trigger happy cowboy sort of thing. And I feel like they were kind of trying to parallel that a little bit with how they were presenting themselves. I mean, basically that's the whole situation is, they were going to, you know, this mining site and trying to take it back. And ultimately the way they go about it is very, cowboy diplomacy sort of thing, like, speak softly, carry a big stick. And this, obviously led to some unintended, sort of kind of obvious consequences. And
Yeah, but the
yeah,
historical
I don't have a
context I
problem with
get,
that.
that makes sense. That what you're
Mhm.
saying makes sense, but the mistake that the writing made in this is that there's obvious communication barriers that you think are occurring in the last episode that are proven to be false in this episode. When the Russian says I defect, why couldn't he have said that when they were face to face and there was a life and death kind of thing going on? He for some reason at that point all he could do was speak Russian. And how come none of the Marines could speak at least a little bit of Russian? The fact that after 20 years neither of these people know how to talk to each other is still unbelievable to me.
I mean, and
And it's proven false in this episode that they could speak to each other. That's the only
well,
part
I mean,
that
my whole thing is,
it doesn't
I
make
mean, I don't
sense.
have as much of a problem with it because I mean, I can kind of, figure out a way to explain that away. But for me, the unbelievableness just, goes to the Karen and Danny thing, and that's pretty much, I think, the biggest problem because I know thematically what they're trying to do with that, and I don't think it's like I have no problem with her in principle of having an affair. I'm okay with the idea, but the execution of how they portray it in the series to kind of help a theme for Ed kind of I don't know, just doesn't work for me.
Oh,
As
right.
as a,
That is a good point, is that the things that Karen does are specifically to rile Ed up. It
well, I mean,
seems
even beyond that, I
like she
mean, technically, and we're getting ahead now. Karen doing what she did saves the world, and that's baffling to me. So that's probably the only issue I have with
Did
this
you
part of the
just say
season.
that Karen having intercourse with a teenager saves the world? What?
Unfortunately, yes.
I'm sorry. My Tribble is growling at you. He doesn't
Yeah.
agree.
Well, I mean, they might not agree, but that's essentially what happens, and that's
Okay.
baffling.
Oh my god. Wow, what a teaser there. Well, okay, my slides just have 2 more minutes and we'll be able to bring up some pictures in a bit.
I think we're doing pretty good.
Greek letter says, I bet third season will start with the phrase, the Russians are coming. Well, okay, we haven't gotten to the end, but at the end I was gonna be like, well, I'm just like sick of this Cold War stuff. I'm hoping in the third season we're like, okay, we're friends now. Like, well, we'll
Can't
get there. We'll
reveal
get there
anything,
because
but
and there can be new conflicts. You don't have to always. Anyway,
well, I think
anyway.
the
Although,
third, yeah,
go ahead.
I was just saying, I think the competition between the Russians and the Americans, it evolves into different forms over the next couple of seasons, but I I can't reveal much, obviously, but I would say that your wish
I
of a
appreciate that.
end of the Cold War will probably be revealed, but
Yay.
we shall find out. But
Well, speaking of
yeah,
war, this episode does start off by saying by people in NASA at Margot and all of them, they are worried about a World War III. And that's definitely the direction that I don't want the show to go. I know this show's supposed to be hopeful, but in the hopeful Star Trek universe, there is a World War III before the
mhm,
good happens. So
yeah,
I can't. I'm not completely pacified by the fact that Ronald D. Moore is trying to make a hopeful future.
I mean, I think that I would say no more because I've seen the rest of the show, but
Yeah.
um, I do
Well, it'll
think
be
this is
fun
the
when we get there.
closest. I think this is the closest to that they get. So
Okay, so we're in the phase where it's the darkest before the dawn kind of thing.
yeah, because
Would you
I
say?
felt like this season, or at least this part of the season, was more of like a. I know somebody's already said it, but it's sort of a space um, Cuban Missile Crisis situation, and so the Russians are trying to put these things on, trying to put a foothold on the moon and try to take over the moon, and obviously the Americans don't want that. So there's like this, like in the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was this issue between JFK and Khrushchev, and what happened was is they ultimately decided that cooler heads prevailed in the situation, and then we didn't have a nuclear conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union in 1962, and so here we have I think the fall of 1983, and now this sort of situation has moved itself into the situation on the moon, and my escalate situation on Earth, and I think
Mhm.
in principle, I think it's a great idea, and I think they do a pretty good job of rendering that through the season. I am glad that it didn't escalate further than that. I didn't think it would because, yeah, I do kind of put Ronald D. Moore's uh, plans for the whole series at heart. So um, we will see where that goes, though.
Well, sure, it was an interesting. It always just seemed right in the background. The stuff with Panama going on in the background. Oh, hey, my slides are ready. Let's take a look at
Oh,
them.
perfect.
And one thing before we do that, Kimberly says that she's holding the triple and petting it, so
Oh, it's furry.
that I gotta do that.
Mm,
So just very luckily, this triple has the right moods for what we need when we need it.
mhm.
Now it's happy.
Very nice. The Tribble can mock me at its leisure.
Oh yeah, and it might.
It already has. No, but yeah, whenever you're ready.
All right, so we've already gotten through a few of these slides, so we'll zip through them real quick, and we'll stop one once we get alongside where we should be. Um, right, and Tracy, she's having to deal with having encountered that violence, and she's shaking. Tracy asks Gordon, how do I make it stop? And he just says that she just needs time. And they're trying to explain, the ridiculous reason why they shot them, because they thought they had weapons, but there was, no evidence of that. The thing is, it's just they were moving and they didn't want the cosmonauts to move, but even after 20 years, they're not capable of telling each other what to do. And the Russians themselves are not like, oh, they have guns, maybe we should just stay still. But no, they're like, no, let's reach for this box. So they were both kind of dumb on both sides. I know you're okay with it.
I mean, just for me, it's not,
I can get over it because these 2 episodes are pretty great.
yeah.
But it's still gonna bother me.
Well, I mean, I could have swore in real life that they have, might not have been at that period of time in the 80s, but I know for a fact that more current time, there's like a translation sheet in like Russian to English on most spacesuits, like on one of the arms,
he would
one of the
have
wrists.
just had to look at his suit, right? Why would it be
Yeah.
stuck in a box?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Let's see. No. Greek letters. I don't need to hear about your triple recipes.
Sounds very interesting.
War never changes. Not even on the moon. Okay, so there we go. That's where we were. Where we were with Margot, and okay, everybody's watching the news. And okay, so the Russians, of course, they're taking advantage of this, taking advantage of being the ones to be the victims of a violent crime first, and accusing the US of putting nuclear weapons on the Pathfinder. I mean, not on the Pathfinder, the Sea Dragon.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, there's none of that on the Sea Dragon.
Wink, wink.
But yeah, wink, wink. Of course, we know that that's that's not true, because as we'll see later on, there's a really ridiculously dangerous design flaw that they inject into Jamestown that nearly destroys everything relating to
and
this.
I can't say more because what happens later.
Because
But
then, because it happens in a little bit, so we want to save a bit.
yeah, well, I mean, even beyond that, but yeah, so.
Well, and then the Buran shuttle is launched. So this is the shuttle. The Buran is the Russian shuttle, and then the Pathfinder. They're going to meet later on in the next episode, and we're going to see what happens there. And so how that conflict plays out. And it's just right now, though, the shuttle, the Russian shuttle, is just spinning around. There's nothing to glean from that exactly. So a Ferengi I once knew said triples taste like chicken. Ew. Well,
I think a lot of people are hungry this morning.
Well, no, it's just Greek letters. It's only Greek letters who wants to fry up triples. And
I guess he's hungry this morning.
one of the worst episodes of Star Trek ever is just Short Trek. Oh, it's garbage. But I don't want to talk about that.
I haven't seen very many of those.
Yeah, you've saved yourself.
Well, I'm also not as opposed to New Trek as you are, but
that's true. But are you for eating things with fur on it while they still have fur on it? Because that's what they do in this. Anyhow, Ed doesn't know really what's going on with Molly, so he's kind of making fun of her for wearing glasses because earlier she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have perfect eyesight forever, just like my grandparents." But of course, the radiation gave her glaucoma, and she's losing it.
Mhm.
Oh, and
Already tempting fate.
hey, have a great sleep, Snortopoopas Cuber. Glad you're here. Mm. And Sally is a little trepidatious about being, a militarized kind of encounter. She's upset about it, but she doesn't back down from it. This is one of those kinds of things where, yes, now this is completely controlled by the government. This mission is now a mission of defending the Sea Dragon from Russian destruction. And because of that, they might have to use the missiles that they put on the Pathfinder. And so, they're going to have to escort the Sea Dragon. And not only that, they're going to be carrying some pistols. So,
Mhm.
yeah, just in case, just the same reason that Russians do it, in case they get stuck on Earth in an unfriendly environment. They're ready to go. And so, but he gives them an out. Now that this is a completely militarized mission, he says you guys don't have to be here if you don't want to. But they don't. They stick by him, which is some good stuff.
And I think it's interesting too that I think, which I don't know if it has any historical connection, but I'm pretty sure Sally Ride was like a civilian scientist, and so I think they show her
Mhm.
kind of, I think sliding the, part of the gun back and like kind of, checking it out, and so I thought that that was kind of an interesting thing. I mean, maybe it just works for this episode because then,
Hmm.
we know that she has a little bit of like firearms training, and so that kind of doesn't seem out of the realm of realism for
I
something that
think it's
happens later.
okay, yeah. And just because you're not military doesn't mean you don't know how to handle a gun. Like you
Yeah,
said earlier, we like our guns.
yeah,
So
that's the classic
so
M1911 pistol. So
hmm, nice. So the commander of the Veds. Okay, so I can't say the name of the Russian
Svezda,
space
I'll say it.
station.
Yeah.
Zvezda, thank you.
Hmm.
And he wants the both the dead and the alive cosmonaut back. And so they're gonna they intend to do that, but of course, as I said earlier, one of them, the one who's alive, obviously defects, and I wonder if the other one was going to defect too. Greek letter says something I just don't understand. The astronaut gloves are super thick. Can they put their finger on the trigger, or are they modified? Oh, oh, but
What?
these pistols are not made to work on the moon. These particular guns are not meant to be used on the moon. They're meant to be used if they end up landing somewhere on Earth in a hostile place. So
And
they're
then
not,
they're
if they were moon pistols, they would have been like the white ones that you saw in the last episode.
the sort of M16s they painted white because of the temperature
Mhm.
differentials,
Oh,
but
and this
yeah,
episode gives me the AK-47s I was looking for the other time.
yeah, that's what I was trying to hold off for, but yeah, that's what they do. But I don't know if they paint those white in this one. I don't remember. We'll get there.
Oh, I don't remember. But Molly is desperate. She does not want to lose her eyesight and she wants to fly. And so she's willing to go to someone, a scam artist,
Yeah,
whose promises he can give her her sight back.
yeah,
And
some kind of snake oil salesman.
Yeah, exactly. Wayne loves her so much that he's just not supportive of this at all. He doesn't want to
Mhm.
watch her kill herself at worst or blind herself completely at best, which is what he predicts would happen if she goes to this doctor, who doesn't align with the rest of the medical community, telling her that all they can do is slow down the sickness and not stop it altogether, which is what she actually wants, because she wants to keep flying.
Yeah.
Because that's her life.
Mhm.
But he's worried about her, and he gets pretty serious about it. I think it's pretty awesome. And because if there's only one wholesome couple in this entire series, it's Wayne and Molly. They're beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like Wayne, and I think they actually say that he had like a little bit of experience in like, I think he was like supposed to do pre-med and then, kind of fell off after it. And
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
he's definitely on the side of like the majority of, because I think there's kind of an implication that we would kind of expect somebody like him who's got a little more of like a flair for like, the natural stuff, that he'd be more aligned with sort of this like wooey type, let's go to the faith healer or whatever. And it's like, no, he's 100% on board with the majority of the medical community, that you don't trust quack doctors to do anything.
Right. Or at least if you do want to trust them, they need to have the scientific data to back it up. I loved how he said it's not peer reviewed and there's no data. It's all, everything you're citing is anecdotal. And so he was definitely dropping science. But she was just so desperate to fix it that she doesn't see. Doesn't see.
She doesn't see logic and reason.
Well, Ed gets home only to just say goodbye because he's gonna go on his Pathfinder mission, so he can't stay for dinner. And Kelly, Karen rather, not Kelly.
Mhm.
Kelly helps with the dinner, but
and that's the other thing too that's kind of bad with this one. It's like she drops this on him just as he's leaving, and it's like,
well, she kind of tries to back away from it, but yeah, you're right.
mhm.
Yeah, you're right. She doesn't. She could have not even hinted at it, and it would have been it wouldn't have affected his mission until later.
Mhm.
But it's just really bad. Oh, and something that I guess we'll never get to see how Tracy and Gordo would have reacted to that happening. Because, well, we'll see why later.
Yeah, well, to say the least, yes.
But she does confess because he doesn't want any secrets. So she does say, that she slept with her dead son's best friend. Oh, does she actually say who
No,
she
she
did?
doesn't say that.
But
She says
that's
she slept with someone, and then I don't think he even asks who it would be.
No, he
Maybe he
does.
does,
He does.
but she
No,
doesn't say it.
no, he does. No, it's completely ridiculous. I just don't want to listen to Karen and her dumb ass any longer. I mean, because they gave her such interesting growth from seasons 1 and 2 from this housewife kind of persona that she this fake exterior that she showed to the world, and so she had to hide her pain and all this stuff, and there was this wonderful arc where she grew from that and learned how to experience her emotions and making friends with Wayne and all of this, and self-medication through ethnobotanicals and all of that. And I thought she was getting better, and for some reason they just threw her entire character in the garbage this season. And apparently you're telling me that saves the world later. but at
I mean,
this
it's
particular
an
point, I
interpretation.
don't want to listen to her anymore.
Mhm.
Here's what she says to Ed. He does ask her who she slept with, and she says, "Does it matter?" Yes, of course it matters. Whenever somebody says it matters even more than like it's really serious. Then
Mhm.
she accuses him of not seeing things in anything else except black and white. And
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just Ed is Ed is so endlessly loyal, and she's trying
Mhm.
to make him seem like the bad guy here, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing that this is that thing I'd mentioned about this whole situation is designed strictly to give Ed a decision to make that isn't black or white, but it's kind of in the gray. And I don't know if I don't think it's executed that effectively, but I'm okay with it strictly because I like the show. But that's, I don't think, a good enough reason, but it's just kind of bizarre to me. And when we get to the actual scene that I'm talking about in specifics, then yeah, we'll see. Well, I'll expand on why I believe that this whole situation is what saves the world. But yeah, we'll get there.
But okay, so it's fine that she confessed that, but she didn't even confess that she's selling the freaking bar. Infidelity is bad enough, but the number one reason for divorce is financial reasons. And when one makes another big, huge decisions without the other, so this deal is pretty bad, also, and not at all healthy. And Karen's all kind of
Ed,
messed up.
I think Ed has more than a couple of reasons to call it quits with Karen at this point. But
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, Helena Webster. That's the lady who shot the Russian. So she's the one who's watching over the live Russian. She's desperate for him to wake up and be okay, because she just definitely feels pretty guilty. Hey, I want to say hello to Taylor Swift, greater than Disney Star Wars MCU. And traditionally, how would it have went? What do you mean? How would what have went? Please let us know. Oh, and okay. Yeah, okay. So it's some obviously Russians from the moon base are gonna come over. But here's Ed's trying to be reciprocal towards Karen's energy of being, and unfaithful. And so he tries to get with this girl at the bar, but he can't do it. He's endlessly loyal. I was getting a little upset, but then I was like, okay, of course Ed wouldn't do this. He couldn't.
No.
So I guess it was great seeing this series. Well, you saw the whole thing. You and Philip can talk about all of it because I haven't seen all of it yet.
We're only halfway.
Kimberly
so far.
binged the whole thing.
Yeah,
Make up your mind before you buy someone a drink and turn on the charm. I don't really feel that bad for her or anything. So they welcome, this is Colonel Sukhanov. And then there's a doctor, I'm gonna go by his first name, Dmitri, to look at the live Russian, who is Roland Baranov. And of course the colonel wants to go along with him, but that's not allowed. Oh, okay. But the doctor's like, you guys, all of you suck. All of y'all should be on an international trial, and all of that because of what you did.
I mean, not wrong.
Yeah. But it is pretty ridiculous. She does seem a little regretful, though. An unprovoked act of aggression. Yeah, it really was. Well, although the Russians are pretty stupid, when someone tells you to stop moving and they have a gun, like, kind of do that.
I mean, it could have
Now
all
I
been
don't
prevented by a little thing on your wrist.
Well, and that's what they should have had. But not only that, one of them can speak English, or they just know how to say, "I want to defect," because that's a thing where sometimes you just know the one words that you need to say.
Mhm.
So, but he could have still said that, and that
Well,
would
I
have
mean,
stopped the aggression instantly.
the thing that I think would have also worked, 'cause I know there's an idea out there where if your comms fail, that you can still communicate with each other, and so there's like an idea to use some form of sign language to kind of get that going,
Yeah,
so that you
sign
can
language.
understand. So they kind of do that in The Expanse, where it's like certain like hand signals that are given
Thank you.
to
That's
the
what I want.
belters that it works. So it's interesting.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. They should have a series of hand gestures to each other. Of course, that makes sense to me. Especially if you're going to be neighbors on the moon. They're both
Mhm.
at the same crater. Well, anyway, they're getting ready to launch the Sea Dragon. And the launch is successful. It's all good. But Ed's distracted. Is distracted with his personal drama, his interpersonal marriage drama. But he's still able to do his job and get to orbit and all that. So, and they would give each other the finger all the time. Hey, well, that's at least they're talking though, right?
Yeah, that's the one sign that's universal.
It is. I don't know if there's any. Is there a culture that sees it as a good thing? I don't know. I don't know
Can't think
all
of
of
it.
the. Haven't seen these TV shows. Best Buy, like 5 Star Wars Xbox X series games. Okay. Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
There's what
yeah.
you were talking about earlier. Okay, so
Hmm. Yeah, I believe that's called they say it's a non-rocket space launch. So it's like they're launching it from the top of a very large aircraft. I forget which one it is, but normally I think they would shove those things onto like something like a 747, and they would like fly them around. But I don't recall them ever having a situation where it called for a shuttle to be launched from one. But there was discussion on being able to do something like that, but it never went forward as an actual thing they could do. And so,
mhm.
seeing this is an interesting alternative to rocket launches. I know there's a lot of discussion right now about because there's so many launches now from SpaceX and Blue Origin and all the rest of them, that how can we reduce our, like, because I mean a rocket launch is very, very dirty and it causes a lot of pollution, and so I think there's kind of a discussion being had about non-rocket space launches, and they'll either come into this form where you launch them from planes, or the idea I like, which is you kind of launch them on a track. It's like a catapult, and I think they call those mass drivers, and those I think are a little bit better, but
I'll
um, it's
find
interesting to see it.
it is. I want to find it happening in
Hmm.
because this happens in the show, and I'm scrubbing through an episode just to see if it's there. But I love it on UFO. I've always thought, hey, why don't we do it this way? And it's a little bit similar to this. But in UFO, it's kind of connected into the ship. I guess maybe I'll just look for a picture. Um,
I could have swore there was like a Thunderbird thing that did the same too, but I'm not
wait, but
sure.
I haven't seen Thunderbird,
Hmm.
so I can't relate to that. Ah, but now it's showing me real UFO stuff. No, I want Jerry Anderson.
Hmm.
Here it is. Oh, but it doesn't. Oh man, I really want to find the sequence of this video that has the rocket ship attached to the airplane. It's kind of like seated inside the airplane, so it's a little cuter, or like not cute, but it's
Hmm.
like the rocket ship is actually embedded into the airplane on the UFO show, and then it launches from there like that. But it's the same principle,
Hmm. So
you know.
it's like launching from like the shuttle cargo bay sort of thing.
Yes, sort of.
Mm.
But it's on the exterior of the plane and it looks really radical. But they also do
Yeah.
it from under the water, like with the launch
Sea
of
Dragon.
the Sea
Yeah.
Dragon, except in UFO, it's attached to a submarine. So that's also cool. So the same principle of being attached to an airplane, being attached to a submarine, that's how you get your rocket ship to go. And
Mhm.
it's fun. Good stuff. And so
Yeah.
that's how this episode, I should have gotten clips of it because it's really
Mm.
fun. And Jerry Anderson knows his stuff with the models and all that. And
Yep.
hello to Jim's Landscape LLC. How are you doing? It's like Thunderbirds with puppets. Oh, let's see. I would have taken Colonel Sanders on a space expedition. KFC Space Chicken. Oh,
Mhm.
Space Chicken. They give each other the finger all the time. Yeah, we read that one. Only the British have the double finger. Okay.
Well, I think that one's the one where I think I got to watch myself if I ever go to England and I'm like wanting to say like peace to everybody because
Oh
I think
yeah,
that that
make sure it's
yeah,
forward because if you do it backwards, that's not a good thing.
no, that's yeah, definitely something I need to pay attention to if I do that.
Well, but also if you're in middle school, you do the three fingers and you say read between the lines because otherwise you go to the principal's office. And
So
there you go. Then oh, where are we? I'm in my wrong notes. I was distracted by saying hello to Jim. It's good to see him. I hope he's doing well with his fan fiction series filming. But yes, I love having the rocket ship or the Pathfinder being carried by the carrier aircraft. It's a fun separation,
mhm,
and that's why I made it to my thumbnail.
mhm.
And Ed is so excited to be flying in space. They
Yep.
finally did it. Instead of just being launched and tossed around into space into orbits, he can actually control.
Yeah, I'd love to get a model of that at some point.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's pretty cool. And they think that the Russian has brain damage. The one we'll see him coming up in a bit. And so and nobody wants them to move him. If they move him, he might die. Oh, and I already explained this scene earlier. I thought it was earlier in the episode where the colonel takes a look at the or was it the doctor who takes a look at the dead cosmonaut and it's not pretty.
I think he was cooked well done, and
This is
yep.
oh, Karen smoking.
Mm.
And yeah, they see that he'll be okay from the bullet damage. He just needs to wake up. Just like I do. I haven't really been sleeping too well lately, but maybe I'll get some sleep today.
Yeah, I think that might be a thing for everybody because I haven't really been getting good sleep either. But I think it's the heat over here
Mm.
because I think it's been almost 100 every day for the last week.
Oh, damn. Yeah, central
Yeah.
air. Oh, no, see, there it
Um,
is. We don't need to keep on that slide too long. When it goes, it
oof.
goes.
I guess that's
Yeah.
worse than well done, actually.
Yeah, no, but it does look like practical effects. It doesn't look like they
No, it's really
CGI'd
good.
it. They
Yeah.
yeah, it's horror movie level quality.
The budget is going to the right places.
Yes. Smoking is not healthy for you, says Kimberly Anhart. Yeah, well, this is
Hmm.
my friend said this is Mad Men in Space, and then Lance came on and said the art director is from Mad Men, so yes. The evidence is stacking up.
Mhm.
That Scotty or 37 is correct, even though he hasn't seen this series. He just watched, half an episode, and that's what he knows. Molly is going to lies to Wayne that she's going to Apollo, but she's obviously going to Mexico to get her eyes fixed or destroyed. And
Fixed in
Wayne's like,
quotation marks.
if you go, then I can't watch this. I'm not going to be part of this. So he decides
Mhm.
he's going to pack up and leave. He doesn't want to have to deal with the aftermath of what happens if she goes to Mexico. It's too much on him. And it's kind of like you love someone so much you don't want to see them hurt themselves.
Mhm.
My military missile. And so he finally wakes up. Finally, jeez. And then he asks for defect. And so this is where I wonder if they both wanted to defect. Why instead of reaching for the freaking box? Okay, so I'm sorry. I told you I would get over it. But anyway, let's stop talking about it.
Well,
Why wouldn't they both say
situation,
we defect?
because it wouldn't have been as dramatic.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
That's pretty much the only answer.
Yeah, that's
Most
true.
of the time.
That is the only answer because hearing it here was more surprising than it would have been at the standoff.
Mhm.
That's fair. But of course, he gets asylum instantly. But this is the buildup for the entire, all of the actual action drama is coming up because of this asylum, and it's kind of, there are lots of things. Of course, we have Ronald D. Moore. He's a Star Trek writer, and so there are a lot of
Mhm.
Star Trek tropes here that I mean, it's not just in Star Trek, but I can't help but think about it. There's ideas of, when someone's seeking asylum, that and then their people come and try to take them back, and so that's what happens here. That happens a lot in Star Trek, and there are a few
Mhm.
more things. And coming up is another one. Oh, this is a big one.
Step.
This is a really, really, really great one.
Mhm.
Speaking of Star Trek, good timing here. And so
Oh, yeah.
she quotes Star Trek Taste of Armageddon.
Yeah.
Really, really beautiful quote and very foreshadowing of the entire rest of the 2 episodes.
Mhm. It's a great line to put.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very meaningful one. So hold on, I'm gonna see if I can find it. I wanted to clip it, but I didn't get to. But I'm sure somebody put it on YouTube. I couldn't find the UFO thing I wanted, but I bet I can find this. So give me just a moment while I find it.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, see, it's just a minute, so I just want to make sure. Right. Where am I? There you are. I'm gonna have to stop screen there, share it. No, I don't want that. There it is. Hopefully I don't get claimed for this one. Let's see what happens. Maybe I'll pause it. Whoa. What's going on with that?
It's on our hands. But we can stop it.
We can admit that we're
killers,
but we're not going to kill
today. That's all it takes. Knowing that we're not going to kill today.
Today.
That's from Star Trek, isn't it?
Taste of Armageddon. Season 1, Episode 23. First aired February 23rd, 1967.
I love that.
Yeah.
That she knows the air date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that adds to her character as well. I mean, it's a great line, but
it is.
Yeah,
but there's tons of Star Trek, even just not even beyond just this one reference here.
Oh yeah.
And in spirit and in storytelling.
Hmm. I mean, there was a
I-
discussion I had with some people about like what is Star Trek in this timeline? Like, what shows happen, what shows don't happen, and that apparently gets answered later. But yeah,
Oh.
actually, I think even in this season, it's implied that the Wrath of Khan came out a year later than it did in our timeline.
Yeah, it happens though. It happens. So we
Yeah, it happens.
still know that phase 2 isn't a thing. So that's dead in
Well,
either reality.
well,
Huh?
that's
Oh.
funny you mentioned. We'll get to that point later. I think that's season 4. But anyway, we'll keep going.
Uh-oh. No Patrick Stewart? Okay, anyway.
Well, I want to say more. I really do. But we'll have to hold it until season 4.
But we can stop it.
Mhm.
We can admit that we're killers. But we're not going to kill today. And it's a really fantastic episode too. It's
Yep.
Case of Armageddon. One of my favorites. I don't know where I rank it. It's not in my top 10. It's somewhere though. It's somewhere
I
up
gotta
there.
figure that out.
I have my top 10 list somewhere, but I want to order all of them in order, all 79.
Now that would be a project.
Yes.
I might have to do
But
something
I
like
need
that
to.
myself sometime.
I promised somebody I would do it, but he's not here anymore to see it, but I still want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Apollo 70. Oh, okay. Apollo 75. That, of course, is Danielle's mission, and they're given a go to do the Apollo Soyuz mission, where the two ancient spacecraft, like they're not ancient, but they're technically obsolete spacecraft, are going to connect together to do a handshake in space to show that the Russians and the Americans do have the potential for peace. And I yeah, so that's the whole thing that's teased for both of these episodes, and drawn out, but in a good way, not in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
Greek letters says, if they have Ronald Reagan in this timeline, then they must have Margaret Thatcher as well. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yes, they do, but I think something happens to her.
Ooh, what?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember if it's in the beginning of this season. They showed like a bunch of the catching us up between like the end of season 1 and season 2, beginning of season 2. Because every season they do like a recap of the intervening years. So I thought there was a mention of Margaret Thatcher in that, but I'm not sure.
And I was expecting this today, where somebody was going to mention the passing of the great James Earl Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I can't believe we lost another talented voice to Mufasa.
I mean, this year has been pretty rough. I mean, especially in my own personal life, but I mean, just beyond
Right.
that, I mean, we've lost, James Earl Jones. We lost Shannon Doherty and a bunch of others. I mean, it's yeah, I don't know. It's I mean, he obviously left behind a
Shannon
large
Jordan.
legacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, definitely that too. There's an alternate reality somewhere where James Earl Jones ends up playing Admiral Sisko. I think that's interesting.
What?
Yeah, because there was discussion about James Earl Jones possibly leading a Star Trek show, but I think they couldn't come to an agreement or something, or they decided to go with Avery Brooks instead. Or I forget the situation.
It's hard to picture anybody but Avery Brooks being Cisco at this point, but if anybody could do it, he could.
Yeah. I think they were going to originally make him like a kind of an aging, like older admiral, and then Jake would have been his
Oh,
grandson, and it would have been that kind of dynamic instead. But
that could be nice.
yeah, I think
Oh,
that it'd be interesting to see an alternate reality where that happened. But yeah, that's the Star Trek connection for that.
wow. They made it so hard to deflect nowadays. You got to go to space for political asylum.
Mhm.
Gosh, and it would have been so nice if we would have asked the Russians for help to get the astronauts back. But at the very least, those astronauts, because every week we have to mention
Mhm.
the astronauts who are stuck in space thanks to
Yep.
the incompetence of the Boeing company's space program. But at the very least, Starliner started making these creepy noises, and they were like, "Screw this vessel! Everybody head into the ISS and send this piece of junk back to Earth."
Mhm.
And so that's where we're standing on that. And on
Yeah.
that, so I do think it's really fun that there's kind of a real life parallel to For All Mankind happening right now in terms of
Yeah.
where we are with our space exploration versus
I mean,
where they are.
I'm constantly saddened by how much further they're ahead than we are, and the fact that we can barely figure out how to get two people down from space, and the only thing we've done so far is get the capsule we sent them on back, and it's like, why? Why is it taking so long to get this done? And they're like, oh, it'll be next year when they come back, and I'm like, wow, that's gonna be like I forget how long it's gonna be, like a year at that point that they'll be up in there, like a surprise year-long mission, and it's
But
like,
imagine if they took a note from For All Mankind and said, screw all the terrestrial drama or military conflict that we have down here
yeah,
in space. We can have cooperation, and
I mean, it
they
would have been
actually
nice.
extend their, yeah, it would be nice if they ask for help and the Russians
Mhm.
extend their
I
hospitality
mean,
to bring a couple of earthlings back home.
yeah, I mean, even if it wasn't even just the Russians, I mean, the Chinese with their Shinzo could do it,
Sure.
and it's just like
Oh,
anybody who can.
that might actually be even more meaningful because we don't even talk to them really.
Yeah.
It would be
I think
amazing.
the only thing we all have agreed on is to make the docking systems universal for those very reasons, and it's like, why not?
Oh, hey, Keith E is here, just stopping in to hear the memorials. The memorials? I saw
Is
you
there?
on Richard
Yeah.
Nerdcrow. Oh, the memorial. Oh my gosh. Well, it just seems like my channel is all about memorials. Yeah. But you're right.
Well,
It's been rough personally and in our culture, and it is important
mhm.
to remember the people we've lost.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Keith. I'm not going into too much detail of all that stuff, but I do care, and I'm sorry for whatever you're feeling today. If hopefully you're okay, or at least we'll be okay.
It feels like every
It's,
election year we lose a ton of people, either personally or externally in the culture,
well, for
and
you, I know it was rough for you because I mean I lost some friends, but you lost family, and that I'm really
I mean,
sorry.
I lost three uncles in one summer, this summer, and I'm like, how did this happen? But it was all like in the
Mhm.
span of like a month, and I'm like, seems like if a kid told me in class that they'd lost three uncles like in this past week or a
Mhm.
month, I would be like, are you lying to me? Or are you telling the truth? And I'm like, now that I've had it happen to me, I'm like, I would have to believe it because anything's possible, but still
Right? It is wild.
back
I'm
to,
really
yeah,
apologize.
no, it's,
It's been a rough summer.
it's life. But anyway, back to the show.
Mr. Sulu set course for Earth orbit. I thought that was adorable too.
Hmm.
But also, oh, I don't know if I missed it. I guess I missed it. Danielle, this entire time before she got suited up for this mission, she had to take off her her wedding ring,
Yeah.
or his red ring. She put it on. But she's been wearing it this entire time. And
Mhm.
so she always has him on her mind. And that's touching. I guess that's another wholesome couple in this episode, in the series, except for that he got sick and didn't recover.
Yeah.
With PTSD.
Yeah, her first husband.
So she thinks better of going to Mexico. She actually takes Wayne's advice of not going, going to treatment that is unproven, and they're okay. They're okay. They're happy. Oh, and the Republican Party needs a new candidate, and they think that Ellen would be a great addition to their I guess the Senate, or was it the Senate or Congress? I forget which.
I think they're trying to groom her for a
Well,
run at the Senate.
Okay. Yeah, and they even mentioned they foreshadowed the presidency. Oh, hey, Herc 130's here. I haven't watched this yet. It's on my list. I'm here to support you and the channel. Oh, thank you so much for being here, Herc 130. I hope you do get around to watching it. It is very fascinating, whether you like what happens or not. It grips you. It makes you want to watch more of it. It is so much fun to watch. I want to say hello to Real Wade Nation Gaming. And I hope you're doing well. Oh, and I hope you had a good show. And Kimberly hugs Keith. From the moment you're born, you're on your way to death, says Keithy. It's inevitable. Maybe that's hard, but it happens to everyone. Yes, Kimberly, that would be on Russia Girl. Yeah. Thank you, Keith. Yes, it is. It is a fact, and so appreciate what you've got when you've got it.
Yeah, because you could be gone today, or here today, gone tomorrow.
Well, hell yeah, I got into a moderate car accident earlier this year, and if that light pole had fallen on my car, I would not be here either. It is yeah, it was not good. But
definitely glad you are, but yeah.
Luckily everybody, it was like a 4-car accident. Luckily everybody survived. It was due to somebody who was asleep behind the wheel and just caused a domino effect of everybody getting smashed.
Well, let that be a lesson to you kids. Don't drink and drive, don't sleep and drive, and don't text and drive.
Yes. Yes, I should put something together for that, because that's a good message to send. And yeah, sorry about your car. Yeah, thank you, Kimberly. I did get a new one with my insurance actually paid out. I was like, whoa, this is great.
Very good.
That was good. And my rates were only high for a couple months. They actually came down a little bit this past month, so hopefully it keeps going back down.
It's always good.
And need to learn to forgive and move on. Life is too short. Yeah, yes, absolutely, Keithy. Don't hold grudges. What's happening? Oh, okay. Pam, this is where Pam's deciding. Oh man, I love Ellen, but I'm holding her back, and I gotta go. So she's gone. So she's going back to Elise. Elise is gonna have her back, I guess, or I don't know. Who the hell knows what's happening with Elise? If she ever told her of this entire affair or not, or she was just like, I'm going on vacation, and she's back. I have no clue what the hell that was about.
No.
But I guess it doesn't matter. We don't have to worry about it because Pam's gone again. She'll probably write some more poems. And we're back on the moon. What am I going to tell you now, Gordo? Oh, right. He's trying to seduce her and she's not having it. Oh, where are we? Yeah. So she wants to smoke another cigarette, and so they're going to share that again. But he smuggled in some liquor, but apparently it's disgusting, so it might actually be mouthwash. Or what I think is more likely is that the wine got mixed in with the mouthwash accidentally, and that's why it's so gross.
Yeah, I wonder how that would be.
Well, it's bad enough that Tracy, who loves alcohol, puts it in.
Very true.
Goddess Legionai, hail! It's so cool to see you here today. I hope you're having a good day. How are you? And of course, thank you, Keith, for all of the life wisdom you're dropping in the chat. And those are the kind of things I do need to hear today. I don't know if you know you're helping. So, so they're reconnecting, and of course, they do, and they do still love each other, which is something that is revealed a little bit later in the episode. But it's difficult, like you said, it's difficult not to talk about it all together because it's more interesting that way as a complete story versus one just cut up into different pieces.
Yeah, I mean,
they have
everything
that
I've been seeing
connection.
is, yeah. And I think one of the things I do appreciate about the show is that, a lot of the threads, I'd say like majority of them, like they're established in the beginning and then I think they get tied up pretty well toward the end for the most part.
Yeah. And even when they have some mistakes, the overall story makes it worth it. And this is the other scene that reminds me of UFO. This very thing happens on the moon base in the British series UFO, where the alien lands on the moon and pierces through the hull of the moon base. And here it's through the window, and there's a casualty based on that. And I like comparing the effects from that one and this one. They're both fantastic. Well, especially with the one astronaut who flies through doesn't make it into the other pressurized room. Of course, that's unfortunate, but although there's a number of people who die in this episode, but I don't remember him getting a funeral, or even if he wasn't given a name. And this is usually where oh yes, does he have a name?
I mean, I don't know which slide because you're talking about
this one right here.
Oh,
does he have a name?
I'm not seeing anything.
Oh shit. Oh, I forgot to show my slides.
I think I know what you're talking about, but yeah, he has a name.
What's his name?
I think it's on his jumpsuit.
Okay.
I think it's like Gatos or something, but they do something for him, I think, at the end, because it's like 4 coffins or something.
I must have missed it. I thought I only saw 3. Were there 4? Okay.
I think it is 4 because I think, well, I can't say more than that.
All right. Fair enough. So the air sucked out, everything's blown around because of the broken window. And
it's a very Space 1999 scene.
Well, it's Space 1999, but I get it from UFO, so they're related. They're related series. This happens in UFO too. And it says Well, yes, because of a shot through the room. And you're right. He does have a name. His name is Gatos, like you said. So you knew it. Well done.
Yep. I like to fixate on little details sometimes.
Well, very good. Well, my only problem with this scene, I think it was really well done dramatically, but the problem is we have a space station, and on our space station where we have windows, we have metal shutters. So where were the metal shutters for this space station? We didn't get them.
Was not in the budget. No, I'm kidding.
Wasn't in budget. They had to cut some corners. So the two songs in this episode are "I Can't Make It Alone" by PJ Proby. And that happens when Gordo attempts to get Tracy back. Oh, he's singing that to her. And then "The Pretenders," "Middle of the Road" is the other song. When Ed tries to cheat on Karen, but he can't do it because he loves her too much, even after she's betrayed him. Actually, she's betrayed him twice, but he doesn't know about the other one, the financial betrayal. Oh, here's episode 2. It's starting up. The second episode for today is called The Grey. This is the season finale of season 2. It first aired on April 23rd, 2021. It is since of course it is the last episode of the season, it's extra long, 76 minutes, nearly a short movie length. With the writers Matt Wolpert and Ben Nadivi. With the director, the same as the last one. I do like how they keep directors consistent for a couple of episodes through. Sergio Mimica Gezan. And so this is the Wikipedia page says this is series finale. Tensions between US and Soviet reach an all-time high on the moon, throwing multiple missions in jeopardy. And before we get to that, I'll see what's going on. Greek letters says if they allow people to smoke right next to the airlock, they simply can't have a problem with taking a sip of alcohol during your shift, right? Well, it is frowned upon. They're not allowed to actually bring alcohol onto the base, but they do have a chemist who sometimes makes moonshine, but he does it on the down low, so it's just like it's there, so it happens.
Yeah, and also the smoking isn't like approved. They're kind of doing it on the side, so
right, because it has the potential to make explosions and stuff, given the nature of the moon base. But she's getting around it because she's blowing it straight through the air vent. That goes it goes directly into the atmosphere, or the lack of atmosphere of the moon. And hey, Magie's still here. Great to see. So they're okay. So we start the second episode, The Grey, at Mission Control, where they're still trying to decide if they're going to go through with this Apollo-Soyuz mission. Danielle is being left in limbo. She keeps having to do orbits and orbits and orbits. Like, oh, sorry, you can't do it this round. Got to have another orbit. So hopefully, and only now at the beginning of the episode they see that there's something wrong with Jamestown, but they're reassured that everything's okay. But of course, not knowing that the Russians are holding the commander of the moon base at gunpoint. So Alex Rossi is saying everything's okay, but everything is very much not okay.
very much so.
And Yeah, so Alex Rossi's being held captive, obviously. And nobody knows about Gordo and Tracy, who are still in the airlock. So they're kind of hidden. Fortunately, they're able to hide from the Russians. And of course, Ed is still on his Pathfinder mission. Sea Dragon Pathfinder's escorting the Sea Dragon to the moon because that's its job. They got to make sure the Sea Dragon gets there safely with its payload of not nuclear weapons, of course. No, absolutely not. And by not, I mean it does. But they deny it, of course. And so, but Ed is kind of distracted during this mission. He's supposed to be going to sleep, but all he can think about is what his wife's done to him. And you know, so it's so bad that Piscotti is telling him he needs to sleep. And finally, I don't have to see Piscotti wearing that stupid freaking Navy hat. And I'm not saying Navy hats are stupid. I'm saying it's stupid because he's Air Force and he was wearing this hat that isn't the right hat.
Well, Ed's
So,
trying to haze him a bit, so
yeah, but he's letting it happen. But finally, at least he's wearing a inappropriate hat this time, and I can't be mad at it. And there's an end arc to it too. So I've been following this hat. I don't know. I'm happy at the end. Is all I can say for them. And so they're dragging their feet on the Apollo-Soyuz handshake mission. Oh, I see what you did there. Moonshine. Yeah, it is literally moonshine. Yes. Yeah, the chemist makes it, and it's got to be some good stuff because
well, I think the interesting thing about that scene in Mission Control right now is that I think this is the first time in the show that it's now readily apparent that most of the main roles are filled with women. So you have the acting NASA administrator, the director of the Johnson Space Center, as well as the flight director, and everybody else at Leia.
Yeah, it's pretty damn unbalanced, but it's
No,
it's
I mean,
still a
no, they're
fun
all
show.
women, and I feel like that is. I think it just speaks to the kind of show that I think they wanted to do, which is to show this more progressive vision of the future, and to have women in charge of the key positions at NASA as early as the 80s. And I think that just speaks to the entire past two seasons, and I don't know,
Yeah, but
that's
at
an
least they
aspect
do
of
it
it I
in a
like.
way with actual good characters who are not perfect, who are realistic, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And I think it's it works out for me. I wouldn't
I
mind
mean,
a bit more balance, but it's still a good time.
well, I mean, I don't know if we need. I think we just need the best people in those positions, and in this case, I
Exactly.
think that it
The
works out
best people,
perfectly
and
well.
I'm not sure if
So,
are they the best people? I don't know.
I mean,
But
I'm sure they're good at their
they're
jobs,
all
and
right.
that's the thing.
I'm sure they are. That's all I want. And
Mhm.
I'm not mad at any of it, so you're good.
Mhm.
No, and that's something that I do get upset at if it is something that, you know, diversity is great as long as you're not belittling other people, and that this show doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, and Railway Nation is lurking. I'm so glad you're here. I just like this shot. It's really cool. But they have to do another orbit again. And Molly is pessimistic about this going on. She's trying to figure out what's going on with that. And Gordo realize that the control room is depressurized and that the Soviets have infiltrated, so they're hiding from the Russians to make sure they don't see them as they're patrolling.
Mhm.
Mhm. I've read that women are more capable of managing enclosed spaces, says Greek letters, like submarines or space shuttles. Don't know if it's validated though. Maybe the producers went with that.
Yeah, I think
Interesting.
there was a report or a study that came out a few years back where they were suggesting that the best kind of person to like participate in a long term space mission, like a mission to Mars, to go all the way there, stay, and then come back, was women, and that's why they were saying that
Mm.
there was a kind of a discussion about having one of the first missions to Mars be just women, and
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know how far that's actually going to be taken, but that is
I
one
don't
of the
know.
things they were
I don't want
discussing.
things to get discriminatory the other way. I think it's important for us as humanity to work together.
Well, I mean, for me, I don't know because I guess there's power structures in place, and not to get all like on a soapbox, but typically, I don't know if that's going to be discriminatory. I mean, there'll still be men on missions, but having a mission where it's a lot of women on it, that doesn't necessarily detract from uh, men having the opportunity at least a little bit
Well, as
later
long
on.
as they're not being excluded is the thing. That's not something that I want to see.
I mean, I don't think we're at any
I
danger of
don't.
having the astronaut corps be nothing but one group of people, but
All right. Well, yeah. Even a mission, I don't think there should be any kind of discrimination. Okay, so Rossi is yeah, he's still prisoner. He's still prisoner by the Russians. And he want they say that they'll only let him go if they return the the Russian who survived the shooting, who wants to defect. But they don't want to give him up because they've already offered him asylum, especially Helena Webster, because she has something to prove that she wants to save him, and let him, grant his wish of asylum. And Greek letter says, reminds me of a quote by a Ferengi, actually, from Deep Space Nine. On the other hand, grab 10 ladies and put them in an enclosed space, deprive them of their comfort zone, and watch the carnage. Yeah, no kidding. The thing about that is, oh, I want that. I want that quote from Quark.
I would think you would have had a clip of that. It's a pretty good line.
Hmm. But take away their creature comforts, deprive them of food, sleep, sonic showers, put their lives in jeopardy over an extended period of time, and those same friendly, intelligent, wonderful people will become as nasty and as violent as the most bloodthirsty Klingon. You don't believe me? So yeah, that's from the Siege of AR 588 or AR 555, 558, one of those two numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I always forget.
I'm looking forward to doing a rewatch on Deep Space Nine soon.
Yeah, I should. All in Positive Candor says For All Mankind is definitely one of Apple's best sci-fi shows, but I do also like The Foundation. I have not gotten to The Foundation yet. Thank you for reminding me that that exists.
Well, Apple TV is doing pretty big things because you have For All Mankind, you have Foundation, you have Silo. People tell me about Dark Matter. I've not seen that one. And
Yeah, that's weird that
Severance.
there's two Dark Matter shows.
I've not seen either one.
Yeah, and the first one was a sci-fi channel show.
Yeah, that's the one that I
Really
think
loved.
was it Joseph Mazzoli and Paul Mully. Those are the
Yes,
two guys from Stargate that I think popped onto that.
they did, and they crafted the entire story from start to finish. They knew where they were going. They needed 5 seasons. And so season 3 ended off out of the cliffhanger. We'll never get the other 2 seasons unless they write a book or something for us. But in the meantime, Karen's completely demolishing everything Ed has built. the marriage and his restaurant. I guess maybe it was her idea to acquire it to begin with, but that doesn't mean she has the right to make such huge financial decisions without talking to your life partner. Come on, it's highly disrespectful. It would be
It's
like
okay.
if Ed. It would be exactly the same as if Ed sold their family home without telling her.
Yeah, but it's okay. He's in space and she's not.
Okay. Oh my
Obviously, a
god.
joke. But still.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was good. I was just distracted because I got a super sticker from Scotty
Yeah.
Earth 37. He's here. He's
There he
sending
is.
a little pair that's sending little hearts. And he's sending some Eric's. Oh, good. I needed Eric's. He needs to protect me because I just played probably too many seconds of the clip of Danielle reciting the Star Trek episode, Taste of Armageddon.
Yeah, we
not gonna
we
kill.
still should be good.
Today.
You haven't got your copyright strike, right?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't check. I haven't checked. I could go see for you. Let's find out live if I've lost monetization on this one.
I'll keep my fingers crossed.
It's still on.
Yep, there you go.
Yay. All right. So let's see. What should we play for Scotty? We've got lots of. See, I wish I could just play these randomly. Oh, here we go.
Now we have all that time in the world.
How's that for a slice of fried gold?
There are always possibilities, Spock said.
Those eyes.
Kirk had quite the reputation as a ladies' man.
Not him. Spock.
There. Those are fun.
Yeah.
I would love to explore space with Jill. Well, yeah, exploring space could be a lot of fun. I'd have to have a lot of training that I don't have. And I need to learn how to fly. Yes, thank you for the super chat, Scotty R37. Great to see you here. Pathfinder. So they're in lunar orbit. Pathfinder is in lunar orbit. They don't see the Russian shuttlecraft. The Russian shuttlecraft is somewhere. I think it's on the far side of the moon. But they have no evidence of it. They can't see it. And so we've got to wait a bit for that. I love the little tracking, the little radar system here. Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful ship that they've crafted. Pathfinder is really cool looking. This is definitely more in the realm of science fiction. This is what we should be making right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do want to get my hands on one of those Pathfinder hats at some point.
Yeah, the hat would be cool. Oh. And so Reagan's not agreeing with Yuri about the sea dragon, and so there's a contention there. There's a potential for a strike between the two. So it's definitely there's missiles. If you've just tuned in with us, there's missiles on this Pathfinder also, which may take out the Russian shuttle, which the Pathfinder's supposed to protect Sea Dragon at all costs, are its very last order before they go out of communications range later on in this episode. And of course, there's the Panama. The Panama conflict is coming to a head at this certain point, and it is terrifying. There's a possibility the DEFCON goes from DEFCON 3 to DEFCON 2 over the course of this episode because of the nuclear threat that Russians have targeted all of these sites. No, I gotta go back to that one. That one's funny. I think this one's a commentary, just a very light commentary on the pandemic. causing runs
Absolutely.
on everything from bottled water to toilet paper.
Hmm. Yeah, you had. I think we had like a birthday party for one of my nieces, and they had toilet paper as like a gag gift. And I told my cousin that won that you would have had gold during the height of the pandemic.
Yeah, and then they had these people who would go buy some and get up to their limit, and then they would leave the store, come back, and then go buy their limit again over and over until there was none for anyone else.
Yeah, I think we bought so much that we're probably one of the ones that were responsible for some of that because we had enough toilet paper to last about a year. But, yeah.
I never did that, but I did end up having to. I had a great grocery store that actually restocked. HEB, love HEB. They're always taking care of the community, so they always stocked every day. But I had to drive there in the morning and be there early. It was a nightmare.
Yeah. The only thing I miss about that was the traffic. You could get into LA in like 10 minutes from where I was. And I'm like, that. We can keep that. That's good. But alas.
Yeah, the roads are nice except for all the other people on them.
Mm-hmm. Always.
Also, I like Monarch, Legacy of Monsters and Invasion on Apple TV. Wow, more good stuff on Apple TV. I do know that.
Yep. Gotta check those
Penny
out too.
saying hi to Scotty. Hey. And also to Kendra. No, that's good. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And no, now they're continuing to drag their feet, and Margot doesn't want to give up because she thinks it can help stop this war, or at least and she's right, obviously, and I agree with her, even before we actually got to it. But they're saying that you can't do this forever. You get one more bit before you got to come back. But Aleda's upset. They've worked so hard, and Molly's like, "Who is this? And why is she talking to me?" I thought that was funny, but she likes Aleda. And I do too. I like Aleda. She only portrayed herself as a ridiculous victim in one episode, but as soon as she actually got to NASA, she buckled down and did her work. So I'm not upset at her anymore at this point. And does she have her phone call yet? No, I guess not. I guess that's later. They're kicking the can again. And there's all the dialogue I just explained quicker than Bill, who's this? Why is she speaking to me? I just love Molly. She's incredible. And it's gonna hurt to see her be blind when that happens. I'm not looking forward to it.
I think you'll be surprised. But yeah.
She's not gonna have to learn Braille?
No, I mean
Jordy.
I can't see.
I'm just kidding.
No, I mean that would be amazing. No, but how they keep her in the fold and involved in the space exploration game.
She learns Braille.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I might be skipping ahead a bit, but she still involves.
She's one of my favorite characters, so I don't mind just a little bit. And Danielle,
well, I mean, she's still involved.
Danielle's getting up there too with me. What she does in this episode is great because besides just the Star Trek quote, there's Star Trek elements in this episode. One of those being very Star Trek like rebellion, where the rebellion is done because the person doing it knows that it's for the best for everyone. Like they know that this is going to stop greater conflicts down the road if they don't follow orders. And that's I don't know. It's a very Star Trek kind of decision to make.
Yeah.
And also, like she says, what are they going to do? we're up here in space. They gotta listen to us, and that is a bit of a power that astronauts do have. But it is also it's also a risk because if things don't go well, then they'll be in more trouble.
Yeah, but you have a bunch of competent, capable people in a position that they're confident in achieving the mission. You more often than not, I think you'll end up seeing a mission success. But
well, and speaking of which, Danielle is really good at building rapport and making friends with the Russians before they even do the handshake. So she's sowing the seeds of cooperation that we get to see later. And Penny says her break is over, that she's going back to cleaning. Oh man. Well, that's one good thing about having a live stream is that I can't do any cleaning as I'm live streaming.
No.
That would not be good. So, and this is great. This is another thing. This is it's all Star Trek to me. I see all of it. They can't use the normal communication devices, obviously, because they're being controlled by the Russians. But Gordo was there a long time ago, and he knows of an old device that's still around that they can connect to, and that he can crawl up. Not in the Jeffries tubes, but in the ceiling, because there are no Jeffries tubes. But it's kind of like a similar kind of event where he has to go up to the top, figure out how to connect to the old satellite, the old communication station, and get back in touch with Houston, which is a whole thing. I should have lost a few more pounds. But he makes it, and he does connect. But it takes a little while before Aleda catches on and gets his message. And and they do make a mention of the Bob Newhart, and that's what leads him to figure out the communication device that's the extra antenna. And Tracy is so happy to see the Moon Marines coming towards her, but she doesn't. But then she's upset when she sees the cosmonaut, and she's not able to clearly communicate to Vance that the cosmonaut's behind him, so he gets killed.
Yeah,
and that's unfortunate. And
a little bit of dramatic irony there.
Yeah, but it kind of upsets me because what they do next is kind of stupid because they had a spacesuit right there, and I know it was damaged, but a damaged spacesuit is better than duct tape. But we're catching up to that.
We'll get there.
And there's a shootout, so there's a lot of action in this episode. So if you're someone who prefers a lot of action, these two episodes are full of it. So you're not. You might have noticed I'm not complaining as much about drama this, drama that. There's little drama, but it's just enough compared to the rest of the like I like the space and the political drama, space drama, political drama. That's good stuff. The personal drama, not as much, but there's just the right amount. There's just the right amount of the personal drama in these two episodes that it's not as distracting and it's not as terrible.
Well, I think all those are, the personal drama, the political drama, everything is the space drama. All of it is perfectly balanced in these two episodes, I feel. And
I agree.
It doesn't feel overwhelming at any point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that Selma season 2 did not achieve for me, but the last two episodes do it perfectly.
Yeah.
Why can't every episode be this good? So Margot's just finding out that they added a second nuclear reactor to the moon base, and so that they could make some weapons grade plutonium, because that's what you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Kimberly agrees with Molly.
Yeah, I think there was actually a project in place, I think a discussion of a project in the 50s where they wanted to actually test nuclear weapons on the moon, and that would have been terrifying.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, that would not be good because the fallout would stay there even longer than it does here, wouldn't it? Because
Well, I mean,
everything's so
I don't think fallout is as
blasted.
much of a problem on the moon as it is on Earth, but I would definitely say that
Or it
you know
wouldn't be
the
habitable in any sense where astronauts could hang out.
I mean, I think they could probably figure out some way, but I think the terrifying thing is if we were the ones to test nukes on the moon, then the Russians would have tested them, and then whoever else would have wanted to go would have done the same thing. It's basically turning the moon into a giant like nuclear testing site isn't like the best idea. I mean, it'd be a great story idea, I guess, but beyond that, I wouldn't recommend it.
Well, and how resilient is the moon? Are we going to end up destroying bits of it?
I mean,
And what kind of effect would it have?
maybe that's how you get your Space 1999. You detonate a bunch of nukes on the moon, and then there you go. That's how you do it.
Off we go.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she's upset because of the second reactor. There's no fail safe, and there's a way to save everybody, but of course Gordon and Tracy don't have spacesuits, except since they're going into straight on the moon to begin with. Surely they could figure out how to get into the other room and get the spacesuit. That's bring Vance in and use his spacesuit and repair it. Like, it would be better to repair the spacesuit that they have rather than wrap themselves up in duct tape. It's kind of ridiculous.
Well, I
Kind
mean,
of love it at the same time, like, because it's the idea of using what you've got. What do you have? And here's all the ingredients. It kind of reminds me of Apollo 13, where they use the ingredients that they have to do what they need to do. But
yeah.
I wish it would have been in a case in which they did not already have a spacesuit right next to them, because that makes it nonsense.
Well, I mean, some of this reminds me of like I think this season and parts of next season kind of ape off The Martian a little bit, and kind of just having that skill to improvise in a moment and then move forward from there, and that'll work for me because I like The Martian. But yeah, may not work for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to like it, but I just don't know if it's like feasible. They say, "Oh no, you're gonna lose consciousness in 15 seconds," and yeah, and that's all well and good, but I just the believability factor is a little low for me on it.
I mean, my
I want
understanding
to
of,
like it.
I mean, I'm willing to give because I mean, this show I think is fairly accurate by and large. There's a couple of little moments where I think they do stretch things a little bit, but I'm willing to forgive it because I mean, the whole reason behind The Martian, like there's a big old storm that gets him, separated from the rest of his crew. It's like, well, there's no way a storm could be that powerful on Mars, but you can't have the story happen without something like that. And so, some of the elements in this show, I'm willing to let go. Although I think science fiction really, really loves duct tape being used in like, very like hairy situations, and from what I'm told, duct tape will work as like a temporary fix on like a crack on a spacesuit or a spacesuit's visor, or like a hole in a spacesuit. But like it's a temporary fix. It's not something that will last for hours or on end or anything.
It would certainly have given him more than 15 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, if you were able to patch whatever issue to a spacesuit with just like a little bit of duct tape and then give yourself a little bit of extra time, then potentially.
Yeah, I think it would have worked. I think it would have worked, and it would have been way more believable. Way less goofy than the duct tape. They wanted something crazy, and so they did something crazy.
Well, I think they wanted something that would look visually interesting, but also they would give you sort of a ticking clock element, and that's what that does.
Yeah, that's true. If they used the spacesuit, then Tracy wouldn't have had to join Gordo on the mission. She wouldn't have had to say, Gordo, you're not going to make it. You won't be able to do this by yourself. You need me. And that is something else I liked. Like, I know I'm complaining about this and complimenting it at the same time, because that's another Star Trek theme. Is somebody wants to do a dangerous mission by themselves, and then somebody else is like, you can't do it by yourself. And here's the logical reason why I need to be there to help you.
And that's why you have the captain on the away team.
Yeah, and they tried to fix that with Next Generation, but then Patrick Stewart was like, "Why am I not on missions?" And then he got a dune buggy. Yeah, and let's not go down that road.
Well, I'm okay with dune buggies, but there's other things with that movie that's way worse decision making. But anyway.
Yeah, I know, but it's a fun thing to pick on. Kimberly Ann Hart says, "I'll enjoy exploring outer space with Jill. One big leap for womankind." Yeah, that's the series basically. Greek Letter says, "Duct tape, making handyman since 1931." Yeah, I do. Duct tape fixes everything. And
especially in
I'm
space.
very happy. I haven't seen Canadian Spider-Man in so long. It is so good to see you here. Pretty sure she's going to need a suit. She is, but she doesn't. Thanks for joining Anti-Derivative Jill today. Please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Chat, please do subscribe. I am closing in on my next
milestone.
No, not necessarily milestone, but next number moving up, because when you're under 1,000, you see every single subscriber on your page, but when you get to 1,000, you only see every 10, and you have to go into your studio to see the actual number.
I'm just trying to get to 50 by the end of the week, and you're already telling me about 1,000.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's throw your link in there then. Make everybody, if you haven't already, subscribe to Fleet Admiral Levi. Let me grab that.
Yeah,
There's your and see what he has, what he's up to. You can chat with
we're
him.
At 48. All I'm trying to do is get to 50.
You can do well. That should be easy. We got to have 2 people here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I had 49 at the beginning of the week, so I don't know what's going on. But yeah, we'll talk about. I'll hawk the show at the end, but yeah, let's keep going.
Yes, it's just a teaser for now. And so so they're making their plans for making a pretend suit, even though they have a suit right outside the door. But they're not going to use that. They have to do their duct tape suit. It kind of reminds me of the duct tape prom that some people go to. And okay, so what's going on here? They're attacking because they smelled weakness. Okay, this is Ed. This is Ed saying that the Russians attacked Jamestown, so they're going to have to take action. And they start losing their signal, their communication signal, as they're heading to the far side, not the dark side, sorry. Far side of the moon. Oh, and Scotty R37, who sent us a super chat today. The Stream Elements bot is promoting his Twitter. So check out Scotty's Twitter and subscribe to Fleet Admiral Levi. And all throughout, since John Lennon lived, he's now a activist who obviously is against the Cold War and all sorts of wars. Makes sense. And Karen is telling Kelly, "Oh, I sold the bar," and Kelly's like, "Oh, that's totally fine." And she doesn't seem too outraged about it, except she does call her out. She's like, "Okay, I see the signs. Everything you're talking about doesn't have anything to do with Dad. Are you getting a divorce?" And because she is a very observant kid. Yeah. But before they can care more about that, the emergency broadcast signal starts, and it's not a drill this time. There's actual danger of a nuclear attack from the Russians. They've got at least 20 sites, or 10. Maybe I'm multiplying just on Houston alone. So global nuclear war is upon them, and so everybody's headed to their fallout shelters. See? It says fallout shelter. It's not just a sign. Oh, here. I like this. To reach these cable connectors here, swap them out. So they're discussing the plan. The plan to calm down the nuclear reactor. The nuclear reactor is about to what is it called? Meltdown?
Meltdown?
Meltdown, yes. Okay, so in order to fix that, Gordo is going to have about 15 seconds to reach the cable connectors, swap them out, reboot the computer with the switch, and then get back to the airlock before he loses consciousness. And so their plan is, of course, to do that. And that's why Stacy's like, you can't do this in 15 seconds. You need me. And based on, their duct tape outfits, yes. Yes, she's correct. And they're at DEF CON 2, obviously, because of everybody having to head to the shelters. And that is the moment that they're like, oh crap, nuclear war is happening. I guess we can't do this handshake after all. Even Margot has given up. Margot's given up on it. And it just seems like it's over. And everybody's told if they want to, they can go to the fallout shelter, but everybody except for one guy at Mission Control is staying behind, is not going to the fallout shelter. So they're staying to help because they have people in orbit, they have people in space. Either you're going to go hide for yourself or you're going to take care of the people you've dedicated your life to protecting. And so, of course, they don't want to go to the fallout shelter, except for that one guy. I don't know who he was. But Daniel's not. Yeah, he's going to be alone in the fallout shelter. More Super Nintendo for him. I don't know. I'm just guessing that they have Super Nintendo 10 years early in this reality.
Maybe.
Daniel's not happy about this. She calls the Soyas and says, "Hey, why don't we just do this? Let's do it. Let's, this needs to happen. This was the whole reason we're up here." And she's tired of being told, that she needs to wait her turn and, we'll get to you later. And not this time, maybe next time. No, she's ready to do this now. And that's because this is something monumental in terms of relations between Russia and the US, and it's something extremely important, and she realizes this. And this is something that meant everything to her, and it's being taken away from her, and she's not going to have that. And I appreciate that. And oh, look at all these people. You got to breathe all the air out your lungs, so you will have just 15 seconds before you pass out. And that's right. So what it is you cannot hold your breath in a vacuum. It's just not a thing. So that's why she tells him that. And that's Molly telling Gordo how to do this. But Tracy's saying you can't do this alone. There's no way you'll have the time to do both of the things. There should be two of us. There needs to be one of us who does the cable connector and the other one of us who restarts the computer. And so she's and at this point they're basically, I'm not mentioning it because it's kind of just on the side, but if you look at Gordo and Tracy, they're back together. They have that connection, which was what I was saying, but it's subtle and they're working, they're not distracted by it. They're trying to do their best to survive and save the moon base, which is great.
Mhm.
And not just the moon base, but the entire site. Like this whole entire section would not be usable anymore if this meltdown occurred. Kelly confesses that she went to go see her birth father. She was nervous about telling her mother because she didn't know what kind of reaction there would be from it. But I do like Kelly's response. She realizes, hey, my dad built a life with these and already has a family, and I already have a family too. And it's a good look at the dynamics of adoptive families and how important it is for kids to understand that your adoptive parents can love you just as much as your birth parents.
Yep. Yeah, I think that sounds very effectively.
And yeah, it's done well. I wasn't sure where they were going to take Kelly with it, but I'm fine with this.
Mm-hmm.
Canadian Spider-Man. And when they add emojis. Thank you, Penny. And so they're told they're violating space. The Russians are saying you're violating our space, and we're gonna fire at you if you don't get Sea Dragon out of here. And they're gonna. So since Sea Dragon is threatened, Ed is saying, okay, let's get these missiles going. So they open. So in order to use the missiles, they can't just pew pew the missiles right out of the spaceship. They actually have to open the docking at the top, and I like that they actually has to bring up the missiles to launch. That's good. That's good writing there in terms of how the technology would be made in reality. I think that's believable to me.
Yeah.
And there we go. There's Danielle with her bit of rebellion there, saying, yes, we're going to have this handshake. This diplomatic event is going to occur. Why the hell did we spend all this money and everything if we're just going to wave at each other? So she asks Houston to stand with her. And Molly is against it, but Ellen says to go with it. And I love her line. She says, let's have one good thing come out of this shitty day. And that's what happens here. That's the whole why not. And so now it's up to Danielle and Mission Control to help make this happen. And Bill and Alita, they're excited. And I guess this is what happens when astronauts get away with disobeying orders. I guess so. Yes, Margot. But yeah, and this is a big moment for Ellen. She's taking a chance that could end things for her, and she does something good. That is risky, extremely risky, and sometimes a leader has to make those kinds of decisions. And she says, in this room, I speak for the president, and this is something we need to do. And Aleda actually gets to be the Capcom or communications with the astronauts for this docking, which is kind of a nice thing to do. Nice for Bill to give her that.
Yeah. It shows how far everybody's kind of evolved too.
Well, right, because they had their bonding with the last episode in terms of actually getting to know one another and breaking the ice in terms of they're both socially deficient, and they figured out their differences, and that's nice.
Yeah.
So they're tracing Gordo. Well, Tracy and Gordo are covering themselves up with duct tape. We've got the Apollo Soyuz mission finally coming to fruition, finally happening. But the duct tape, I'm still like, Vance is right there. He's got a suit. Anyway, it was right there. It's right there at the door. I think they could have grabbed it, even though the room itself wasn't pressurized. It's a lot less. It's a lot less to deal with than them being straight up on the moon.
I mean, I do wonder how long it would take for you to lather yourself up in duct tape versus, the alternative.
Yeah. What's the alternative?
Trying to take a spacesuit.
Oh, the spacesuit would give you way more time.
I mean, I do think that in real life spacesuits, it takes you like 3 hours to get into. But in like For All Mankind's world, I think they're implying that there's things in place to make sure or ensure that the time it takes for you to get into a spacesuit is a lot faster than it is in our timeline. So
that, and we don't have 3 hours to sit here and wait for people to put on a spacesuit. We've got to
no.
That would extend the runtime just a little bit. But here we're seeing the reactor meltdown.
I don't know what Celsius is, but it definitely looks bad.
Oh yeah, well, it's gonna be even worse in Fahrenheit. 435 Celsius to Fahrenheit is 1,175 degrees.
Very nice.
So there you go. Thank you for asking that one. But yes, of course, because in the future, well, actually now, NASA does use metric, so never mind.
Yeah. I even think the U.S. military uses metric, and it's just the rest of us that are forced to stay on the imperial system.
Yeah. Oh, well. Maybe someday.
Maybe.
Man. So yeah, I guess it's just for drama that there they are. There they go. They're being heroes. They're stopping the nuclear meltdown of the second nuclear reactor and making sure that the entire base is not lost. And all that they've worked for the past 30 years has not been destroyed because Gordo and Tracy went out and it stopped it from happening. Connected the right connectors and restarted the computer. That's always the answer to any technical issue is restarting.
Turning it off, turning it back on. Yeah.
And so you think, it's very deceiving because as bad as they look here, they do make it back to the hatch. And you think that they're going to repressurize. So this episode surprised me in a good way and in a bad way. This one was the bad way that it surprised me because I thought they made it here. Because you can recover from the problems of pressurization over time.
Well, they have to throw. I think they have to throw you in a one of those. Was it? It's like a chamber of sorts.
Chamber?
It's like a.
What?
I forget what it's called, but it's like a specific chamber so you can your body can become reaccustomed to the pressure.
Oh, right. Do you do that in submarines too?
Mm-hmm.
So, Danielle, this is a great scene. Well shot, well paced, and just it's beautiful. You really feel the immensity of it and the importance of it. Stefan and Danielle shaking hands, and they make it. They make it a smile and everything. It all works. The handshake is a success, and the only sad thing is everybody's stuck in their fallout shelter, so most people don't even get to watch it live. But the important person who's supposed to watch it live is the one who sees it, who of course is the president. So he's the one who needed to see it the most, and he did, and that causes him to decide to make an emergency peace conference with Russia, and they decide to stand down and everything, and just in time for the Moon Marines and wait a minute. Okay, so if U.S. is the Moon Marines, what should we call I didn't even think about this. The Russians? The Russian military? I got to come up with a name for them.
Yeah, because I think
Russian military.
I don't know if the Russians have Marines, but I know that their special forces is called Spetsnaz. So don't know.
Spetsnaz.
You know what? Why not? Let's go with that.
It's a lot easier to say anyway.
Yeah, Spetsnaz. We'll go with that.
So yes. So this
Reagan is the one that looks at it.
Right. Yeah, and Ellen thinks she's in trouble. She's like, I was thinking this was the best thing, and he says, yes, it was the best thing. It was beautiful and inspirational. And all he wants to know is what Pathfinder is doing. But they're still out of communication range. So the conflict between Pathfinder and the Buran is still in play, and neither of them know about the handshake and the show of peace that's going on. So they're still doing what they would have done in any event, regardless of what is happening on Earth. They're alone in space because on the far side of the moon, there's no communication with Earth. And the Russians want them to comply with the blockade. Ed says, we don't recognize your blockade. The same thing that we've been hearing the entire episode. And it seems as if like this is how the episode surprised me in a good way. So with Gordon and Tracy, it surprised me in a bad way. This way, it surprises me with a good way because they definitely make you believe that Ed is going to destroy the Buran the way that's going. Sally comes to this conclusion too. And so even though, like you said, she's a civilian, she knows how to handle a gun. And so she's about, not that she's ever actually used it. She's probably got training, used it outside of a firing range. She probably used it inside of a firing range, but never actually used it in any kind of defensive or offensive capacity.
Yeah, I think the implication here is that she's never had to point a gun at a living person. So
yeah, it's always been a target or something. Is what I would believe from her. And so, but yes, no hatch. This is it. This is woo. Way to go, Piscotti. Piscotti, lose a fracking hat. I never want to see a hat on this man's head ever again. Good going. He's lost his hat. He's also gained reasoning. He's actually stepping up here in terms of saying, "Hey, guys, you're pointing guns at each other. You realize where we are, right?
Yeah.
Well, where's that? Jesus, you both know we're in a pressurized spacecraft, right?
Mhm.
That's his quote. Incredible. Good stuff. Standing up for himself finally.
Mhm.
And they trick you pretty well. Ed says Ed falls back to his old line. Well, because of Korea, you know, I and again Sally has to tell him this isn't Korea. I do like the scene because Sally's living up to her own convictions, and we don't even realize that Ed has his own also, that he's not intending to destroy Brian. But this is actually foreshadowed earlier in the last episode where he says, if anybody's shooting at each other, we've already lost. And so
Mhm.
he it's so logically speaking, what he does is the right thing. And he does not, in fact, shoot the Baran. Instead, he shoots the Sea Dragon. And this is how this episode took me in a good way. They're building up Ed to be aggressive to the Russians because of his Korean War experience, yet again, like last time, where he interrogated a Russian prisoner after finding out his son was brain dead, and now after finding out his wife committed adultery with their dead son's best friend. But I don't know if he knows that. He doesn't. You're telling me he doesn't know that other part exactly. It looks like he
No.
did something else with the Russians. But me and Sally Ride were both totally wrong. But Sally Ride, the fictional Sally Ride, is really great. Look at that. That's great. That's a
Mhm.
great still, and it also gives
Mhm.
you a good view of the Pathfinder console, which I think is a beautiful production wise. I'd like to know how they made it with all the dials and buttons. It's just gorgeous.
Mhm. Most definitely.
And yep. And Piscotti lost his hat and gained some balls. So we're all
Mhm.
good here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's the only problem with this whole thing.
What problem?
Well, it's just that because what Karen was saying about, you have to live in the gray. Uh, how that conversation comes about is kind of like, I don't think it's executed that effectively since, you know, she's like, she's trying to like justify her adultery by saying that, like, was it right? Was it wrong? I don't know. It's kind of, in the gray. And I'm like, I don't know.
No, it's not. It's pretty wrong.
Yeah, I think generally it's generally like bad. So like I don't know if I would try to try to justify it by trying to say it's some kind of like gray area, and I don't
You're
know
right. That's
like
that they were attempting to tie it together in some kind of
yeah,
theme for the episode
and
regarding both.
I don't know if that's. I mean, I'm okay with them trying to like go with this theme of the gray, but I feel like the way you could have connected that could have come from another source other than having Karen and Danny do the thing. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think in the moment Ed knew what he had to do in terms of not escalating to causing a world war. I think that was definitely on his mind, and I don't know. Like I don't think Karen had any damn thing to do with it.
Well, I mean, he says,
But I
I think,
guess
right? He's saying something about that he has to, choose a different option. So he's like, I got to go into the
yeah, but
gray, and
his teammates help him decide that because they
yeah, that's
say
what I'm
that
saying. It,
Sally says there has to be another way,
yeah, and so
and
that's
so
why I'm
he
saying
thinks
that
of one.
that whole thing could have been handled a little bit more effectively thematically. But
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely, it would have been more meaningful coming from somewhere else.
But I
And
guess
there it
it's
is. There
ultimately
was
the best
there was
decision
a big
that you could make.
explosion. Speaking of Jerry Anderson, a very, very good explosion here.
Mm-hmm.
He would like this episode.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what Jerry Anderson would think of For All Mankind and all the nods to his work that I think are pretty spread out through the show.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure there's more references to other sci-fi that I'm not even thinking of besides Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek and UFO or Jerry Anderson in general.
I mean, just going through
And
Bill's house, you can see plenty of other references to a myriad of sci-fi properties.
oh sure, Space 1999. He has all these spaceships, of course. Well, yeah, and he wouldn't give Leda a tour. I hope maybe we get that tour one day. And no, I guess maybe that'll be more of a behind the scenes look at Bill's apartment or house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'm going to do when I finish all 4 seasons. I'm going to go back and look at all the reference material. I'm kind of not interested in looking at it now because I feel like I might get spoiled for later stuff. So I'm holding
probably.
off. After I finish season 4, I'm going to watch all the production stuff, and I think I'm going to have one more show after the last episode talking about all the production stuff that I find and maybe predictions for season 5.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I hope to join you for that.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And so, of course, the escalation on the base is shut down because of the handshake and Reagan taking action inspired by the handshake and by Ellen's leadership. And he sees she's taking leadership, and so can I. And so he does. He helps stop the conflict, and the Russians don't decide to nuke everybody. Yay. That's a good way to end the season.
Yep.
And they don't nobody's saying that Ed destroyed Sea Dragon in order to save the Russian save himself, like save the Pathfinder and save the Buran. In the name of peace, he destroyed the spacecraft that he was supposed to be protecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
But
think
it,
yeah, it's a very solid kind of conclusion. I mean, all of them are in agreement that they know what happened, but the rest of the world is probably never going to know.
Oh, okay. Look, see, when I watched this episode, I only saw the 3 coffins, and I was like, "Where's the other guy? He's there. He's hiding behind this pillar." I didn't see him. I didn't see him watching this the first time.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Tracy,
They had
Gordo, Gatos, and then Vance.
yes, but they hide Gordo, or not Gordo, but
Gatos.
the other, the red shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can see how you can make that. I can see how you can mistake it for being 3.
Mm-hmm. Real Wade Nation Gaming says, "Where do you stream this show?" On Apple TV. And so everybody's at this funeral, and of course, Gordo and Tracy get they get medals posthumously for their act of bravery and saving everybody from the nuclear meltdown. That the Russians and even the Moon Marines were completely unaware of that happening. By the time they realized what was wrong, it would already be blowing. So it was only because Gordo decided to say, "Hey, what about this old satellite or this old communications device? What if we tap into that?" And then it was only because they were able to communicate with Houston and figure out a way to solve the problem were they able to save everybody. And so, at the end of the day, smoking saved everybody's life on the moon base.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, because if if Tracy wasn't going to the airlock to go smoke, then Gordo and Tracy wouldn't have been in the airlock to hide from the Russians to begin
So
with.
is that what you're going to tell the kids at home?
Yeah,
You're
kids
going
at
to tell
home.
them, smoke. You don't know if
You
it'll
got
save your life on a moon base one day.
yeah, right, exactly. If you smoke, you're gonna save everybody's life from a nuclear meltdown. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, smoking is bad for
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
But it's like
Well, I
it's like
mean, yeah, the same.
smoking also saved Jimmy Doohan's life. He had a cigarette case in his pocket that would have that bullet would have pierced him
Yeah.
if he didn't have it.
Yeah.
Sally, don't do it.
But we're totally not saying that adultery saved the world. It's just might be part of it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I refuse to. Like you said, it was not well constructed, so I don't recognize it. And even if it was the author's intent, like maybe I'll listen to the authors talk about it, maybe think about it differently. But in this case, it doesn't work that well. But it's great.
Probably the
It's a
only
great
thing,
episode.
though. That is. That's the only thing that I don't think really works for me, at least in terms of like
I
narrative
do.
construction. But
I do like knowing a little bit more of her backstory. She was saved from what is it? Baby Lift? Operation Baby Lift.
yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I'll read her thing. On April 3rd, 1972, a C-5A Galaxy transport plane with 243 infants, children, volunteers, and crew took off from Saigon as part of Operation Baby Lift. 1 minute, 23 seconds later, the plane crashed into a field. 47 children were rescued, and Kelly was one of them. There are these moments that shape your life, moments you have no control over. If the pilot had banked left instead of right, if the South had won the war in Vietnam, if the Russians hadn't beat us to the moon. And so that's her. Yeah. I always thought things happen for a reason, good and bad. There's a design, a plan. But lately I've started to wonder if maybe we just say that to make ourselves feel better. Maybe we're just drifting from moment to moment, just trying to do what we think is right, to give some meaning to our lives. And so that's how she finds out who she is. It took her a while, but she got there in the end. So you can definitely tell by the way she wrote it that she's a lot more confident in explaining her life and what it means and where she comes from. She knows exactly where she comes from, which is good.
And they drive off, and we'll see. They drive off into next season. And
yes, and then Nirvana starts playing. And Come As You Are, is that the song?
Yeah.
I love Nirvana, so that's how you know. The second you hear Nirvana playing, you know the 90s are coming up, because that's my childhood music.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of Nirvana's definitely not like my top, but
it's not, but it's kind of defining for the decade in terms of what happens with them.
Its use here is very effective.
I enjoy it. It's good. And it got me excited for season 3 because obviously it's teasing not just 1995 but also Mars. And so I'm wondering how the Soviets are going to play in. I'm wondering what's going on with Margot here, if she's going to be okay or not, because she's being manipulated. And so I don't like seeing Margot being taken advantage of here. Hopefully,
Yeah.
she'll figure out what's going on before she gets into trouble.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think
because she's such a good character. She's such a interesting. She's not perfect. She makes mistakes, and I really enjoy watching her. So I just hope she figures it out before she gets taken out.
I don't want to say much more about her. She stays, straight through the rest of the show, but
Oh, okay. Thank you.
things happen. But yeah, I don't know
That's
if
good news.
I think you'll be surprised at the outcome of her character. But I also think that you may have some thoughts about how. I mean, I obviously had some. Actually want to get to that discussion about the parallels between herself and another character. But if I say any more, it'll reveal too much. So I'm just really excited to see what you think of the next season as well as the season afterwards. And yeah, I'm just, again, glad you made it the last 2 seasons and you're now halfway through the show. So what would be your thoughts on the whole thing as just the 2 seasons isolated?
Well, so far I've been enjoying it. I enjoy the conflict with the Russians and the US, and I'm hoping for the next season that there's going to be a bit more cooperation and less Cold War because I've had enough. So let's move on, hopefully, and work together and see what
Yeah.
new problems we face on Mars, which is when we do get to Mars, and we get a couple of boots just landing on the surface of Mars. We do not know to whom the space boots belong to, the astronaut.
But rest assured you will.
Yeah. Well, then I guess I'll just have to wait for next time. But I have to tell you, next Tuesday, I've been having quite the few weeks, just been really draining for me. So I think next Tuesday I'm gonna have a shore leave and just take a break because I need a break.
Yeah, no worries.
In loving memory of Alan Decker. I meant yeah, we'll start season 3 on September 24th, all right? If that's okay with you.
Yeah, no worries. It's your show, and I'll definitely be here to co-host you on For All Mankind season 3. So
Yeah,
you said
and
9/24.
and want to spoil but can't. In
Well, I
loving
mean, I'm
memory of
just
Alan Decker.
Mhm.
So I want to find out Alan Decker. That's
Yeah, I
something I
forget,
meant to find out with my notes, but I didn't do it.
because I think they lost a couple of people involved with the show over the last few years.
Well, I should find out who he is in terms of what he did for All Mankind. He was for All Mankind. Alan Decker was a re-recording mixer for 10 episodes for season 1. And yeah, so he was lost. That's unfortunate. But it is good they commemorated him at the end here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of different story threads going around. Several that were not resolved in this season, but I'm sure will be picked up next season. And I guess it's just a matter of seeing where they go with it and where they're going to end it. And hopefully by the end, everything is wrapped up. But at least Ronald D. Moore is a good enough storyteller to give us an ending, an actual ending for at the end of the season. So he did complete a storyline.
Yeah.
Storyline being getting Pathfinder, the missions Pathfinder and Apollo Soyuz, and the conclusions of that and how it interrelates with the Russian and with the Cold War tensions, with the Panama Canal, and everything together in terms of the space and the military political aspects is really well done and interesting.
Yep.
And if there was, but you know, there's a couple of episodes that drag out the personal drama just a little too much for me. It's all important stuff. It's just not mixed very well. But the last two
Yeah.
episodes mix perfectly.
Yep. I think season 3 and 4, because I mean, offhand, I can't think of anything close to as divisive as the Karen and Danny thing, and I
thank
can't think
heavens.
of anything. I think after you've passed this point in the show, you're pretty much, you know, you're gonna power through the next two. But yeah, I
Well,
don't think we get to anything. I think the story in season 3 and 4 are, because I mean, I'm one of those people who's and I think Lance agrees with me that the show gets better every season, and I think yeah, we never. I mean, the story gets tighter and a lot more. Like I feel like the threads are a lot more, you know, well put together in the next two seasons, and so I'm really excited to see your thoughts and explore that with you.
oh, I'll definitely have some. Oh, I forgot to read all of the songs in this episode, except of course Nirvana. That's played at the end for teasing the next season. We also had "Well, Well, Well" by John Lennon when they're on the brink of nuclear war, and Ellen approves Apollo-Soyuz docking after the president canceled it. Then there was a song by Jeff Russo. Well, actually, the rest of the songs are by Jeff Russo. "Sunrise," "Transition," "Save Wubbo," "Water," Part 2. So I guess these are just musical numbers, just songs. Apple TV. Yep, that's how you watch For All Mankind. Let's find out the names of the next episodes I'll bring up For All Mankind.
First two episodes of season 3, when we are now hopping into the 1990s.
Yes, 1995, according, is going to be our next start date.
Well, actually, I think I can't reveal too much, but the next season starts off a little bit before that date. So.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, right. Because there's got to be a transitionary period. Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's I think it starts a little bit after I was born in '92, but you'll see the exact date next season. But
very cool. Good news.
So I am born now in season 3. So.
Well, how late in the 80s does season 2 get? I don't even know. How, like,
I think season 2 is just isolated to 1983.
1983 entirely? Yeah, so I'm not born yet. I'm -2 years old for season 2.
Oh, so we'll both be alive in season 3.
Yeah, we'll both be alive in season 3 if we're alive in the alternate history. Who knows?
Yeah, very true.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my dad wanted to be an aeronautical engineer earlier, like when he graduated high school. He was thinking about going into that track, but he got sidetracked with working for the LA Times, and that's where I ended up too. But yeah, there's a possibility he could have ended, like, with all this kind of like push for space. It's possible in another alternate reality where like something like this happened, where he might have actually entertained the thought and actually had been that. And so, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, right.
I might
right, in
not
the
be
alternate history, my mom, joined the Navy and didn't have a relationship until later.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But yes, 1992. I'm like in kindergarten or first grade or something, and the first season 3 episode 1 is called Game Changer, which is a good name. It's a giant leap from 1984 to 1992. So, and then the episode 2 is called Polaris. Wait, yes. Oh, no, that's incorrect. Wait a minute. What? I'm confused. Oh, okay. I made a mistake. Episode 1 is called Polaris, And episode 2 is called Game Changer. There we
Yeah,
are.
that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm a little
Can't say
tired.
more.
No, it's fine. We'll pick it up in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna play next week.
Okay. Well,
Kimberly Ann Hart says sounds good.
I guess I can probably hawk the channel now, I guess. If you don't mind.
Sure. No, absolutely.
Well, I'm Fleet Admiral Levi here on the old YouTube. I talk about science fiction, fantasy, and horror. You can find us at Fleet Admiral Levi. And this weekend, I've tried to do my live streams on Friday afternoons. So Friday at 2 o'clock, we have a show for commemorating Space 1999's Breakaway Day, because in the show, the moon left Earth orbit on September 13th, 1999. So this would be the 25th anniversary of the moon leaving Earth orbit. And then next week after that, we're covering, I think, the 23rd anniversary of Star Trek Enterprise. I'm gonna have a few guests on for that as well. And then the week after that, we're going to be doing a introduction to my alternate history space adventure story, where in an alternate timeline similar to For All Mankind, but not really. It's an alternate timeline where the Americans and Germans were involved in a space race, and how that came to be is a little more, it's quite different than how it happened here in For All Mankind. But if you like any of that, you can definitely tune into my channel and subscribe. Definitely comment, like, and subscribe. On September 22nd, I have a story that I submitted to a anthology coming out. That's also, you can see on, I'll be posting that on my Twitter. And yeah, so I'm doing a lot of things. I hope you guys can join me and you guys can see all the things I'm doing.
Yep. Thank you, Philip. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of creative stuff. Keep it up and have fun.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you.
And congratulations on that story. That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Just don't get hit by black holes, says Kimberly. Oh yeah. No, that would not be good. Bye, y'all. Have a great evening. Yes, bye, Penny. We'll see you next time. This is a good place to end it, because we successfully finished another season.
Yeah.
And
2 more to go.
Did you? There was supposed to be an extra content on season 2 with Ed, but I didn't watch it. Do you know what it was?
I don't know.
I came across it, but I didn't watch it. All right. Well,
no, I mean,
never mind then.
It'll be news to me. Maybe I have to look further.
Yeah.
I haven't seen all the extra stuff, but
yeah, that's the thing. I'm gonna save that till season 4. I guess I'll do it all at once, like I said, and keep up with that.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
Adios, Greek letters. See you next time. And so have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you on Friday, where we're going to take a look into the 1990s Nickelodeon classic Good Burger with Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell. It's definitely a big departure from my usual fare, but it's something I've been interested in. Scotty R37's been interested in reviewing it, and I've been interested in a bit, kind of talking about some of my childhood nostalgia from the 90s, and that's one of them.
And it's probably the perfect film to start off your journey into the 90s. So,
yeah, right? That's funny. Okay, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye, chat.
Learn all that is learnable.
And the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty.
It has always been easier to destroy than to create.
May we together become greater than the sum of both of us.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.
All right, move along. Done. Stop it. Get off of the things. Go outside. Get some food. It's like, it's a time of day where you live. Go do something. Shut up, Snoopy. I don't care. You smoke too much. Let's go. Let's go adventure. Let's go explore.
Emma.